All right, so for tonight, for our last week, we are going to have one main thing we are going to look at for the just like the last few weeks, how we have one main thing. We're going to stick on one main thing, but if I start trying to go on several different things, I'm just going to go down to several different rabbit holes, and then we're going to get lost in thought as well throughout it. And so I'm going to stick to my notes the best I can and the slides as well. But so for today, we are going to be looking and talking about probably one of the hardest topics about this, which is the topic of the good and the evil. And so there's a lot of things about this of what we are going to dive into. There are some things that I did not put in this just because for just how long it would take to go through those things, as well as everything else that's in this time-wise. It just did not work out well for it, but this is one of those things that you can just spend just several weeks on just going over and talking about good and evil. So the first thing that I want to look at as we talk about this and talk about the faith as well, there are two things I want to ask you right at the start. First one being, if you were to meet somebody who said they were not a believer, what reasons do you think they would give for not believing in any religion?
They're a good person.
Yeah, they're a good person, so it doesn't apply to them. They don't need it because they're already good. You know, that's a good one. What else?
They can't believe in something they can't see.
They can't believe in something that they can't see. That is a really good one. What else? What other ones do you all think there are? I will say there's a lot because I have a list of some that I'm going to show right after this, after you all give some. So what other reasons do you think there are?
Church people are hypocrites.
That's a good one. What else?
Or somebody or another Christian did something wrong and it hurt them.
Yeah. That's a good one as well. There's a lot of reasons. I will say I did not find just one source that had this list. This was just a Google source of just what are reasons why people do and not believe. And this is some of the answers of what I did find. Some of these we have looked at over the past 3 weeks, and some of them we don't have the time to go into all of them, but can be pretty self-explanatory as to the reasons about them. But so first one, lack of evidence. Atheists and also non-believers argue that there is no concrete but verifiable evidence to support the existence of a God or multiple gods. The second one, incompatibility with scientific understanding. Another one that a lot of people do really lean on this one, the emotion that science doesn't back up what it is you say you believe in which the more you look at science as well, add it in with it, it actually backs it up a lot more than what people may think it actually does. There are some things about some things about it that are just simply not true of what some people say are true, but whenever you look at science and you look at the Bible as well, there's a lot in it that does match up with each other as well. There's other things as well on here that we did throw out there, lack of need or purpose, convincing arguments. People who have tried to talk to them about Jesus or the religion that they believed in, they didn't know how to share it with them and didn't have any real evidence or anything to help back it up to them. And when the question comes up of, hey, why is it you believe in this and what is it about your faith you believe, their answer becomes where they just don't have an answer at all for it. And so that's what the main majority of that one is. Focused on the human agencies. Some atheists emphasize the importance of human agencies and the responsibilities be believing that people should focus on creating a better world rather than relying on divine intervention. Going back to the reason of, oh, I'm a good enough person as it is, I don't need to worry about that as much. And there's a lot more as well added on to this list as well of why people just simply do not believe. Now, there's one other question that I want to ask you all real quickly before we really start to dig in quite a bit. And so now, I'm not looking at just why do people not believe, but I want to ask you all real quickly. You meet someone, you go to share your faith with them, and they tell you that they do not believe anymore. What reasons do you think people walk away from the faith that they believe in? This can be Christianity, or it can be any faith. But what reasons do you all think that people walk away from the faith that they once believed in?
They had a bad experience with life and they blame God for it.
A bad experience, that's one that pops up quite a bit. What else?
They can't believe that the God that we believe in would let things happen today that happen.
Yeah, it's a good one. What else?
Well, usually there's a pastor that does something just not right, and it just wipes it away.
Yep.
That's everything.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons for this, and it doesn't have to just be one religion. This is looking at just multiple religions, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism. There's multiple different religions. Didn't just focus just on one. This was looking at several different ones and what reasons there were. The list is going to probably be a little bit small, but I hope you all can read that. I realize it's a little bit small even for me, and I'm a little bit closer to it. But this is a very long list. There was a list of 25 things. I don't think I put all 25 in here. I think I put about 23 in them because 2 of them did repeat. But there's a lot that do kind of revolve around the same thing in this, and there was one of them, the second one on the left, being exercise. I saw that one, and for a second in my head I was thinking, well, if somebody made me go to the gym to be able to have a faith and work out with them, I probably would agree with them a little bit on this list. And then I realized, oh, that's the wrong kind of exercise. He's talking about an exorcism, and that made a whole lot more sense while I was reading that one more. But for that one, yeah, that one was an interesting one to read, where there was a person who, when they were about 13, 14 years old, their grades and everything were going down, and so their parents went to a priest and had them conduct the exorcism on them instead of just going and talking to them, and that's why they walked away from the faith. And I looked at that and I went, that's a little bit understandable if your parents think there's a demon inside you, and I kind of understand that one. But other ones, like the third one, working in the medical field, not just working in the field just by itself, but the part of the field where they worked in, where they were dealing with a lot of people who would pass and die before their time did come. And there's a lot of them just that do revolve around the simple idea of just hurt or just having bad things happen to them. And so all of these have many different reasons. All of these people who filled out this survey and wrote these answers in, all of them have their own reason for why they do not believe it anymore and why they walked away from different faiths. There's some of them that talked about how they walked away from Islam because they were being forced to it. But whenever it comes to talking to people who have a reason for why they do not believe anymore, and stick with me a little bit as I say this, but what I believe is that there is there is one reason people can have for why they do not believe anymore that is bad, and then one reason why they do not believe anymore that can be good. I say can be because it comes with a certain circumstance on if it is good or not. What I mean by, just for example, if someone were to say, I do not believe because I just do not understand anything about it, that is not a good reason to not believe anymore. I do not know how people can fly a plane or how spaceships work or how the mechanics on it all works, but there's some people who do understand it and they can explain it to people to help them understand it. And if somebody were to talk to me about it and help explain it to me, I could then understand it as well. So saying that you don't believe in Jesus just by the simple fact you don't understand it, it's not really a good reason. Now, what I mean by reason that it can be a good reason for not believing. If somebody were to say, for example, I grew up as a Buddhist, and just the things in Buddhism that I wasn't too certain about and questions that I had just didn't make sense to me, and my parents couldn't answer them for me, nobody could answer them for me, and so I decided I'm just going to not be a Buddhist anymore, and I'm going to be a atheist. Now, to me, and we can disagree on this as well, but to me that sounds like a good reason to not believe, because they're not believing in Buddhism and they walked away from Buddhism because of answers that they were looking for, that they just could not find. Now, I will say that's actually this is something that I talked to someone about. I was in Rhode Island a few years back, and we were partnered with a church plant that was up there, and we were just going around talking and just trying to share with people, ask them just about their faith, questions they had as well, and that was the actual talk that me and one person had, and what they told me about how they were not a Buddhist anymore, and they were a atheist now, because Buddhism did not have the answers that they had. And I asked them, okay, what are some of those things that you were looking for answers on? And we had a great talk with each other, and I could help show them the answers that they were looking for, and also wanting to find by what it was I would be able to help sharing my faith with them at that point. And so for those people of what I believe, those who saying, oh, I walked away from this other religion because I did not understand anything about it, and it just did not make sense. It shows that they are looking for answers, and sharing Jesus with them can help give them the answers of what it is they are in search of. And so, now as we look at this, and just looking back at this list, the one the thing that does pop up quite a bit, and it is the idea of hurt or something bad happening, or the issue with evil. And so, so the real reason of why most people do not believe, other than just having some kind of hurt, is this idea of there being good and evil, and trying to understand how both of them can coincide with each other, and how there can be good and how there can be evil in the world. And so here's the issue of what we see with evil whenever we look at it. The issue of evil is the question of how a good and powerful God could allow evil, like suffering and the wrongdoing in the world. And there are two main when we look at the evil, there is moral evil and there is natural evil. And so just real quickly, what do you think those two are? Like if you had to tell somebody what moral evil was and what natural evil evil was, what would you tell them?
Moral would be where you would choose to do it, and natural is we're all just natural people, or born,
Okay.
born in sin.
Yeah, so for them, moral evil is just evil that is caused by people, whether it be murder, theft, or anything just along that line. Natural evil looks more around just whenever things happen that nobody can control them. Happen like there's a earthquake, flood, or something along that line. That is what it does look at the most. And so whenever we do look at these things, it does become hard to be able to truly understand why evil does happen if we look at it from a non-religious point of view. And just for right now, we're going to look at it as just from a non-religious point of view, and not just look at just our faith as a whole right now, but just look at this issue of evil and try to understand why it does happen. And so the two philosophies that a lot of religions do focus around is either material, which is highly focused on just physical things you can touch, see, or measure. If you can touch it, see it, feel it, taste it, smell it, it exists and it is real. And then there is immaterial, which this is things that are not physical, that you cannot touch or see, or just anything in between there. If you can't touch it, see it, taste it, feel it, measure it, see it, and anything at all, then it does not exist and it is not there. And so whenever we look at these, whenever we look at atheism as a whole, where between these two do you think atheism falls under? Which one? Why?
Because a lot of atheists say that they don't believe because they cannot see it.
Yeah, they believe that if you cannot see it, then it does not exist, and the reason why they do not believe is that there is a God is by the simple fact that you cannot see it. Atheism falls under materialism, which is the belief that only material, that is the physical things, exist. This is what they fall under, and everything they believe is just under the simple fact that if I cannot see it, feel it, taste it, measure it, or use any of the senses for it, then it does not exist and it is not there, which is why Christianity is something that is very hard for them, because they cannot see it and they want to be able to see it to believe it is there, or be able to have some kind of physical experience with it to be able to understand that it is there. And whenever we look at it, Madeline Murray O'Hare said, well, she was an American activist who did support atheism and founded the American Atheist. And she says atheism is based upon materialist philosophy, which holds that nothing exists but natural phenomena. There are no supernatural forces or entities, nor can there be any. Nature simply exists by itself. And so this is what she said, this is what she believed in as well. And I need to grab the charger for my laptop because it is about to die again. But so looking at this, we see it, and when I look at this, I have a little bit of issues with this and trying to fully understand it just by the simple fact of where, as he said, I need to be able to see it to be able to believe that it does exist. And if I can't see it, then it does not exist. And this is what we know to not be true with our faith. As well. And so whenever we look at our faith, what are some things about our faith that we believe about good and evil? What are some of the things about our faith that we know and to believe about what is good and what is evil?
Free will. Free will.
Free will. What else?
We have certain rules,
Yeah.
which are 10 Commandments,
Mm-hmm.
and actually they're the basis of most of our laws in this country.
Yeah. Yeah, they are the basis for the majority of the laws as well, and it is just surprising to see as well about how many natural laws that we have just in the U.S. that originated from the 10 Commandments, and about how that just factors in to where there has to be some moral belief as well about just how it is we are to live as a people. And so here are some more things about good Christianity, about what it says about good and evil. And so for Christianity, it does fall under theistic moral realism. If you ask me exactly what that is as a whole, I would tell you I do not quite know. I just learned about it just a few weeks back, and I'm still learning more about it. But for the main thing about it, for what theistic moral realism is the belief that right and wrong are real and unchanging because they come from God's nature, not from human not from humans' minds. And it does also combine the idea of objective morality, which is the belief in a deity. I know I put deities up there. That was a misclick on my part. I forgot to take that part off whenever I search what it means. But we can just mark that out, and I have a little marker right here that I can use as well. So there we go. Just a belief in one deity as a whole, but there are more religions as well that would fall under this as well. But for our faith, we know it to be where there is a set of what is right and what is wrong. And whenever we look at our laws today as well, we can see where that does originate from as well. And we can see this take part as well. And some more things about it. In Christianity, we say that the measure for what is good is what? God. God is the measure for what is good. One of the things that I have always heard, if you to take the word good and try to spell it without G-O-D in it, you're not left with anything except maybe one O as well. And so just what we say is good. God is what is good, and we say that evil is the absence of good as well, and we believe this to be true. And that with that, since God is the standard of what is good, and evil is the absence of a good, we also see as well where the universe works in this way of where it is a cause and effect. For example, if I were to be on the road just going through Prague and going about 55 miles per hour, just going through the main street, and there was a police officer that did see me just speeding down the road a lot faster than what I should be going, what would happen then? Get pulled over, and more than likely we get a what? Ticket as well, which that has not happened yet. Thankfully, as well, I haven't gotten a ticket yet here in Prague. I'm looking to not add it to my short list of places where I have gotten a ticket. But we see the universe working this way, cause and effect, and we see more examples as well of where we see Adam and Eve in Genesis 3. We see the cause of what happened being what? What was the thing they did first to get kicked out? They ate of the fruit of the tree that they were told not to eat from, and from them doing that, the effect of that happening was what?
The boot.
They got the boot out of Eden and then sent into the world as well. At that, and so as we look at the Christianity and also atheism, which we're going to spend some more time looking at these two, we need to not. I'm going to try to be smart about how I say this. Not just look just with blinders on, just in full, but we need to be just rational in our thinking as well, and choosing what it is we believe in. I'm going to make a safe assumption that all of us believe in the same thing as well. So this is just going to be showing y'all just more what we believe in. But whenever we do think rationally, we need to think based on or in a concordance with reason or logic, which nowadays seems like it is nearly impossible to think this way for a lot of people as well. And the one issue with rationality, despite what people would think, there is one issue with it, is that it does involve us needing to be thinking carefully and logically to make good decisions, understand things, and tell the difference between what makes sense and what does not make sense. And so we actually have to be able to tell, this makes sense, or this does not make sense as well. It doesn't make sense that the moon is made out of cheese just because there seems to look like a whole lot of holes on the moon. It's not actually made out of cheese. This doesn't actually make any sense. But whenever we do look at the atheism and also Christianity, we need to look with this mindset as we look at both of them. And so real quickly, what I want to ask real quickly, just based off of what we have talked about so far, what do you think some of the concerns with atheism is?
It's empty. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
And I was just reading here a little bit and talking about the, moral motivation.
Mm-hmm.
If we are accountable to God for our actions, they're not accountable to anybody.
Right.
And so they can do whatever they want without feeling like there's going to be any repercussions or feel like maybe there's sin.
Yeah.
The definition of morality and good is based on their personal expression and
Exactly.
They define it for themselves, no one else.
Yeah.
They decide what's good.
Yeah, it's their opinion.
Yeah, is there an opinion or just whatever it is you want to believe is true and whatever you want? And with atheism, some of the concerns, I will let you decide on if these are concerns or not after I get done talking about them, even though I think we all know what the answer is going to be. Whenever we look at them, for atheism, and the atheistic view are rational thinking comes from non-rational blind forces. We have our material things we believe in, and that we can feel, touch, see, taste if we want to taste them as well. But we can see them, we can feel it, it's there, and we believe in them, and we see them, but there is no logical explanation for how things do come to be other than a blind force that we cannot understand. There's one atheist who Richard Dawkins is his name, and he says that in a universe of blind physical forces and genetic replication, you will not find any rhyme or reason in it. And so this is him whenever he does talk about atheism. He has looked at atheism for many, many years, and this was just one of his many things that he has said about atheism, and just looking at how things are in this world, and just saying that you will not find any rhyme or reason for anything that does really happen, other than it just happens. Now, there was one other guy, Kenneth Sample. He is a senior research scholar with the group Reason to Believe, and he is a Christian. And whenever he was asked about atheism, this is what he had to say. In this worldview, talking about atheism, reason is the result of a non-rational and impersonal process without purpose, consisting of a combination of a genetic mutations, variation, and environmental factors. And so, just going off this, does this cause any issues whenever we think rationally about atheism? Yeah, is chaotic. This does create a problem for atheism whenever we look at it and see it like this. And the reason why this creates a problem for atheism is because they depend on reason to argue that atheism is true. And the thing with that is that based off of their mindset and what it is they think and believe, is that there is no real reason to it other than what it was. Richard Dawkins said. He said it. There is no any rhyme or reason in it, and so they're trying to argue for reason when there's not any reason to it to be found in it. And so whenever we look at the Christianity now, Christianity claims that rationality comes from a singular rational source, which is what? God. And so God is the singular rational source, and God is a thinking, reasoning being. And we also see from Genesis 1 that we are made from God as well, and so our ability to think logically is no accident, and it was designed for a purpose, which ultimately helps us to know God more and to know our Heavenly Father more. So whenever we look at atheism versus Christianity, and we try to think rationally about both of them, which one of them makes the most sense? Yeah, is it going to be Christianity just flying sails above atheism as a whole? And so there is a few common objections for Christianity, though, of what people will bring up, and it's the main issue. What we've talked about since the start is the issue of good and evil. The one question that pops up most about this is the main issue with this is the issue of there being evil in the world. And the main question that gets thrown out the most that people try to find an answer for before they believe, or what keeps them from being able to believe, is the simple question of, if there is a God who is good, then why do evil things happen to good people? And so this is what we're going to spend the rest of our time in trying to answer here. I do not have any other slides as well, so all of this is just coming straight from brain to mouth. And so whenever we look at this, if there is a God who is good, why do bad things then happen to good people?
Well, let's go back to what we said earlier. We all given free will.
Yeah.
So free will means we make our own choices. Just because you're a good person and they're an evil person doesn't mean something they might think is going to happen to you. That's not by your choice, but it still happens.
Yep. Ryan, somebody else, why do you think good things happen to bad people?
Well, I think it draws you closer to God.
Yeah.
Makes your faith stronger.
So whenever we look at this, and we go back to what we just talked about with atheism versus Christianity, if I can find it in my notes, because I did not move it this far. We see with our belief of what the main source of good is, which is what? God. And so we have the standard set of a good being God. There's nothing better than God. God is what is good. Good is God then. And so whenever we ask the question, why do good things happen? Well, sorry, not why do good things happen. Why do bad things happen to good people? We see the standard of being God for good, and we see the reason why bad things happen to good people. I know I'm repeating this over and over and over. Is the main idea cause a good person, let it happen to him. What I mean by this is for us, whenever we look at Genesis 3, what happens at that point? What happens in the Genesis 3? Sin entered the world whenever Adam and Eve sinned against God and ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, putting sin into the world. And now for each of us, from the moment we are born, we are filled with sin at that point. And so by asking the question, whenever we try to look at ourselves as being good people by doing good things, we cannot compare ourselves to being good people, because we do not come to the standard of good that is a God by how we define good being as a good being God. We are always going to be viewed as being lower than good, being lower than God. And there was only one who was good, who was Jesus, who came and lived a perfect life. And so because of this, only one person has walked the earth who was good, and his name was Jesus, and he was crucified on a cross to pay the price for our sins, so that we may not be seen as being filled with sin and bad, but so to our Heavenly Father and to God we may be seen as being good and holy before Him, if we believe in Jesus and in His life. And so for the reason for why bad things happen to good people is because of the verse John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He sent His only begotten Son, that whoever shall believe in Him shall not perish but have eternal life, showing us that the reason why bad things happen to one good person was because He let them happen to Him himself. And for us to try to ask this question when we do look at ourselves, it is not possible when we try to look at what is good. We cannot look at ourselves as in the individuals and see ourselves as being at that level of good as Jesus was. As it is only Jesus and only God who can be viewed as good. And so the question of what we are trying to ask, but not asking it in the right way. We shouldn't be asking why do good things happen. Why do bad things happen to good people? But the question is actually why do bad things happen to bad people? Because we are all bad people from birth, despite how much good we must, when we do try to do. If we do not have that relationship with Jesus and are not known by Him, then we cannot be considered good. And the reason why bad things happen to bad people is by simply sin being in the world. It is not a mystery whenever we look at our faith, actually why bad things happen, and see the reason is solely because of sin. And so if we were to answer this question, if there is a good God, if there is a God who is good, then why does evil things happen to good people? Our one answer that we have for it is because He let it happen. And so I know that was a lot right there at the end, so I'm going to just ask, are there any questions or anything about any of this? I'll do my best to try to answer them all. If I don't have an answer, I will find one.
Jesus came to the earth in the flesh.
Yeah.
The flesh, of course, is not as perfect as God, but He came here to be as perfect as God sent Him to be, which is truly God. But in a conversation he had with a man in Mark 10, the man said, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" The first thing Jesus said to him, it says, "Why do you call me good?" Jesus asked, "Only God is truly good." And this is Jesus giving glory to His Father. And that shows the goodness that He has and reflects.
Yeah.
And like you said, the only good is God.
Yeah.
And so He directs the attention to the Father.
Yeah, and with that as well, there was a lot of where whenever somebody would teach really, really well, they would call them a good teacher as well. And so whenever Jesus is asking him, "Why do you call me good?" he's asking him about that just simply, "Hey, why are you saying that I'm a good teacher? What's your reasoning behind seeing it? Do we see him as being the good teacher he is, or are we seeing him as just being someone who teaches things very, very well?"
Oh, He teaches very well, and He also teaches parables and ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
He never insults anyone.
No.
Ever. And that's one of the Lord's things about Him.
Yeah.
We see that in 1 Peter. We're studying that now. About being kind to people, and even though they may be evil to you. So anyway, you get a little bit off the subject, but anyway, that's
Any other questions, thoughts, anything?
So when you debate or discuss, however you want to use the term, with a non-believer because they can't believe in something that they can't see, how do you respond?
How do I respond with that? Would you ask that one more time?
Basically, how are you responding to a non-believer who says they can't believe in something they can't see?
It's a good one.
Because I have my answer.
Yeah. Dang it. No. One of the things, because when there was one person who I talked to, it was a while back whenever I talked to him, because it was one of the conversations that I had in, it was either before I talked to that lady who was an atheist who used to be a Jew. It was either before talking to her or after talking to her. I didn't have the answer, but one of the guys who I was with, they did ask him, what do you believe about air and about the oxygen? And they said, oh, well, I believe in it. You need oxygen to be able to breathe, but you can't see it. You can't physically hold it and feel it at the same time. I can hold my hand out right here, but I can't feel that there's anything in my hand. How do you be able to believe oxygen isn't real if you have to be able to see it or feel it to believe it's there? And so just trying to find something else that like air or something else that we see as being something that is true and factual, either like a math term or something about history, science, something about that. I'm trying to get that incorporated as well with the with trying to talk to them is what I try to do.
So what's your answer?
That's why I use
That's what you use?
oxygen in air. If you can't see it, you can't hold it, you can't know that it's there, how can you have the faith that you're truly doing what, quote unquote, the Lord teaches us?
I also like the fact that God created us with a place within us, a hole that only He can fill.
Yeah.
And that everybody has a desire to try to fill, and people fill it with all different kinds of things, but nothing fills it until you accept or believe and have faith, in God.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we've become adapted to in life in this current technology and culture that we have that we take for granted. It's kind of a faith in a sense.
Right.
I mean, when you drive down the highway, you have faith the person's not going to cross the line, which does happen from time to time. And same thing when you get on an airplane, it takes off and lands. You have faith in the trust that flight will be uneventful, essentially. And so there's a lot of things that when you buy the food off the shelf, you have faith that is good food. It's not going to kill you. Although those things do happen. There are those little one-offs out there that come. So you basically put your faith in that this is good. And it may be that it wasn't, and ultimately you get sick or you die. But God has a plan for everyone, and that purpose is met through the interactions we have with others and with the society we have today. And so whenever we go and take that step of faith and go out and do what we need to do to live our life, we're trusting in God.
Yeah.
But that's a good response to somebody that you're talking to about faith. You ask them what is faith, and they said there's no such thing. Then you start using some of those examples, and they say, well, you have faith in it, and faith is a belief. And those are things that
you don't have faith, you have constant fear. Everything.
And those are some of the rebuttals that I've used in talking to somebody. Just to basically make them understand that you don't see everything that you say. You have faith in these things. And that's what my faith is all about. I may or may not see, but I can feel, and I have seen. And they said, well, how have you seen it? I said, it's not that I've seen God, I've seen God and His works. And try to explain those types of things. And that usually brings up to a conversation is basically you start to look, say, what I've told them is you need to start looking for some of these things that we're talking about and see if you see any of those.
Yeah, you see a lot of the struggles with the Israelites when they're leaving on the Exodus. They lose faith very quickly. They say, oh, we should have gone back to Egypt where we could get food. And, they don't think about what it was like when they were there. And they don't even think about the miracles that God performed getting them out of Egypt. And, the manna and the quail and all. And God gets so angry, He was telling Moses, I'll wipe them out and make a new nation from you. And Moses said, no, please. And he convinced, to keep the people, and ultimately, we see where that is today, but, they still have that hard time to accept Jesus, even when it's written in their own scriptures.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah, for example. But that again comes back to faith, and even when God got so mad at him, he made that plague of snakes, or not snakes, it was plague break out, and he made the iron snake to hold up, and they would look at it and be healed. Well, that took faith, just to look at it and say, I'll be healed from this plague or whatever. And so that again comes back to faith. Faith that keeps bringing that out. It's faith that keeps us alive, essentially.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain to somebody who's more into the physical things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start bringing up physical things, you have to have faith in and trust in. And even things that science can't even explain, or it doesn't have the ability to understand, you can explain that through faith.
But
You trust it.
science isn't an exact.
No, it isn't. And I think that's where they'll come in and eventually say, well, it isn't exact, but it's my own basis for belief.
Yep.
And then what about the unknown? What do you believe in that? And then
That's
brings
what
that out.
said, you have faith in science then, right?
Well,
So you do have faith.
yeah, there's you believe, you believe that 1 + 1 = 2, then, maybe you can believe there's an actual end to the total number of pi. Tell me what the last digit of pi is. That would be fair.
There's a lot of reasons, and that's why people will get for why they do not believe, and why they just either just haven't believed in anything, or why they quit believing as well. And I do want to throw this back up there just real quickly, even though I know it's 7:02 now. But whenever looking at this list, why people do not believe anymore, why they quit believing, there's actually surprisingly not very many of them that had it where there just wasn't enough evidence about it, or where they needed to see it and believe it. A lot of it came back to that point of where there was some kind of hurt that happened. Like there's the first one where it was where they did watch a loved one die, and then being exercised, working in the medical field, experiencing infidelity and divorce, and seeing family fall apart. And there's only, I think, on this list, just one mention of not having enough evidence. And I didn't put any extra notes in here on it, but for that one, whenever I looked at it, it wasn't even just about Christianity that they were talking about with that one. And so there's not too much of an issue of where they need to really see it to believe it as a whole. It's more of, I don't believe in this, so I'm going this route into I'm not going this route, I'm going to go this route, and if somebody can show me how this route is not right and this other route is right, then I'll go over and believe that way. And so that's really the main thing about it, is just the question just at the end of where all of these kind of circle around behind of, if there is a God who is good, why does he let bad things happen to good people? And that's where the main majority of these wrap around, is just that idea as well. And if we can have a defense to be able to share about, hey, none of us are actually good. All of us are dirty, rotten little sinners, despite how perfect your grandma thinks you are. We're all terrible people in some way. And they say, oh, no, I'm not. The answer is yes, you are. And that's really where the main issue does wrap around of whenever people talk about why they don't believe, is just, why would he let this thing happen? And why would he not answer my prayer? I think that was one of them that was on this list. It's either on there or can't see it, just trying to glimpse over it real quickly. But that was another one that was on there of the just on the answered prayers as well, going back to that, it hurt as well. And so just as long as we can have an answer just for this, of just being able to help answer somebody as to why, quote unquote, well, why bad things happen to quote unquote good people. If we can have an answer for that, then we can be able to deal with any kind of argument that people may try to throw at us, as long as we can answer that one question. Because that's going to be the main answer that they're going to be wanting to look for, is why would someone who is good let these bad things happen?